What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Cylon, Johns, and Jills Network. This week is the podcast between the asshole and the expert. No, I'm just kidding. Battlestar Galactica, everyone. Spoiler free. We're going to be going over Season 2, Episode 7, Home, Part 2. What a fantastic episode it is. And a teaser for Final Cut, Episode 8 of Season 2. Oh my gosh, what an episode. Can't wait for the Jills to get a hold of that. And without further ado, I will introduce our resident expert and one of my best friends ever. What is going on, Mr. John St. Baptiste? How are you doing today, man?
I'm doing great. Doing well, adapting to my new schedule. It's taking a little time, but I'm doing well, and I'm hyper caffeinated this morning. So you have to deal with that. So does everybody else. I'm on my second venti soy chai latte from Starbucks. By the way, Starbucks, if you want to sponsor the Cylon Johns, please come out and do so. Also, Lefroy Scotch, or anybody else for that matter, but particularly those two things.
Yeah, and the scrubbing bubbles. They do the scrubbing so you don't have to.
Yes.
Oh wow, what an episode this was. We finally get to see the tomb of Athena, what all of the Arrow Apollo was all about, even though it still was funny. And we'll kind of talk about how Kara went all the way for the key to the tomb of Athena, and it just opened if you pushed it. But first, lots of other things happen, and I would say we could talk a little bit about Soccer Mom 6 and everything that involves Baltar this week. He's really having some trouble with his head. And, we'll get back to the rain scene shortly because I think that's really, really fantastic. But with Baltar, we see a little bit of him this week. And like you said, I know you wanted to talk a little bit about him going through all the options and predictions of the future.
Yeah, something we didn't really bring up Friday, like when we go from Sexy 6, which is what we're used to what we have officially dubbed Soccer Mom 6. The moment in between, Baltar, he's like, oh, what's it going to be this week? Oh, the ship's going to blow up. Oh, we're going to run out of water. It's really cool macro playing. Like, because I think this is the point in the series where people would be like, oh, there's, some emergency every episode or whatever. But it plays the whole macro concept. And then you hit this moment and it's just like, 6, and she's in a tracksuit and she's like, oh, hey, wake up and smell the psychosis.
That right.
Test.
Yeah, that right there, I mean, it's just, he's terrified. But to his right, I mean, I would have thought I was crazy a long time ago. And why did it take him so long to get this brain scan and these thoughts? But she starts to say things that there's no way he could possibly even know subconsciously, right? That's when he starts to wig out here. But he's got to go get it done. I dare you, man. You want to talk a little bit about Doc Cottle on that for just a second, just because I can't help myself.
Yeah. There's one on every fracking ship. Every time Doc Cottle's on the screen, I gotta love it. For one thing, the MRI scene, like Kenzie brought up the other day, I don't know if anybody else has ever had one, but I have. And she said that she had, when that goes on, you gotta stay still or you get very big trouble because they have to start the whole thing all over again. And 6 is messing with him the entire time.
What's up, bro? Are you crazy or what, bro?
And then he finally finishes the test and there's apparently nothing. And That's more disconcerting to him than anything.
Doc Connor's like, what the hell is going on? Crazy bastard.
I know, right? Just brilliant, brilliant script writing.
I've had a few MRIs and they're scary. This one's a little more open, so you're not in that tiny hole. If you have any sort of claustrophobia, they're horrible. But they have the open ones now, so but look at that face, man. How can you not love that face? Uh,
Well, we had an episode where we talked about how much I hate parking garages. That's me in a parking garage, let alone in an elevator or an MRI machine or something like that. Like, yeah, it's very
I,
disconcerting.
and while we're on this subject here, let's see if I can find it. There we go. Since we're on Baltar and Sick, we'll talk about coming to this revelation, right? That, well, he's not crazy. He's really seeing something. And Six has been lying this whole time. She's just telling him all kinds of shit, man. What were your thoughts on this and anything in particular that you found intriguing that she said?
Well, I find it really intriguing that she says that essentially she's saying that they are responsible for the baby, not that they're physically going to have this baby. That the baby is boomers. And that, by the way, I'm an angel from heaven. So is this more her fracking with him? Is this actually a true statement? Is this more him just, yeah, he's really crazy? You know, I think this is played up really well. I think we've narrowed it down to those three possibilities. If you have another big good one, throw it out there.
Uh, you know, maybe she just thinks she's an angel.
Oh, that could
Right,
be. Well, even a fallen angel's an angel.
right, right. It could be something in her programming or whatever the hell is going on in Baltar, but we don't see a chip either, right?
Exactly.
So,
But
mm,
as the panel pointed out, maybe he doesn't have a chip because he himself is a Cylon.
maybe. I know just about everyone's a Cylon. You maybe can rule out Hilo. Maybe. Because he'd be a dumb Cylon if he was one. No.
I don't think they want him for what they're asking him for. If he were a Cylon, because they keep making this big deal about humans having to breed with Cylons. I think Hilo's the one gimme that is definitely not a Cylon. Or if he is, even they don't know.
Yeah, he'd have to be some sort of maybe the 13th Cylon if there is one. You know, I know that Jills were floating that around. Um, oh, here's the scene I want to talk about now. Just a little bit of scene behind the scenes action here. This right here is where they were leaving the atmosphere, if I'm not mistaken, going back to into space, and they used a high pressure air blower. This actually comes from an idea that they got Ron and Dan got from Moonraker with Roger Moore, right, as 007, and they wanted to know what was used to make his cheeks with the G-force go so bad, and it was this, but this cannot cause air bubbles in your blood and cause hypoxia and also aneurysms. So the actors are actually put in danger, especially like this is Apollo, if I'm not mistaken. It's hard to tell, but he had to do that himself, and they had a good laugh about putting him in danger. At least no one died, but it shows how dark they are.
A lot of directors like doing that. Peter Jackson, you know, apparently, like, if anyone's out there is a Lord of the Rings fan, in Return of the King at the very end, there's a scene right in front of the gates of mortar, and the stunt doubles for the hobbits are out there, and they have an entire like army running at them and behind them because they're in the front. They're supposed to be these big heroic characters, even though they're small people. And one of his assistant directors is like, if anything happens, they're just gonna get like ran over. And apparently Peter Jackson's like, I know, this is great. Like, directors are just sadistic bastards. Ask anyone who's ever worked with Quentin Tarantino, apparently.
Oh yeah, I mean, they want to get that realism, and it really is hard to if you don't actually do some things. Uh, and let me go back to just wanted to throw out with the soccer mom moment here that he was supposed to actually be talking to Boomer, and then Boomer turns into Six. I thought that a pretty interesting thing that they decided to change on the scenes. Read
Yeah,
into it what you will. This was some of the toughest shooting they had to do with these 2 episodes because usually it's about 5 days in studio shooting, 1 day out. During these 2 episodes, they had to do 6 days out of studio and 2 days in. They said it was hell. Um, but also, you know, it just shows their dedication too. And I guess we'll get back into the mini scenes and pairings, and we'll talk about first, the little what would you call it? A nice little happy reunion with the Dama and and Six, if I can find it here.
Adam and Sharon.
Yeah, Dama and Sharon. I'm sorry, I don't know why I say Six. There's some fun things that play out here, and I'll find it at some point, I swear. Oh, it might be after that. Yeah, I can't remember. I'll find it. But whenever they end up meeting up, it's a really good scene because Edward James almost actually choreographed and directed the scene, well, for the most part. And just this is the first time he had ever really done anything of this manner. And he edited this scene. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
And the way it was edited, the look he gave her before slamming, all these flashbacks before slamming, you can see the pain in his eyes, and this is just I just want to give a shout out to his acting chops, his talent all around here. He does the slam. He even we go back into him having the surgery, right? And he even collapses, right? It all looks so realistic. You can feel for Adama. You almost can feel Boomer's acceptance of whatever happens to her at this point because she knows. Um, it's just a really beautiful cinematic scene. If you want to touch on it any more than that, we can. And also any of the other reunions that we've had in this particular episode.
well, first, like we talked about on Friday, I love the Chokeslam, because of my man, The Undertaker. But going beyond that, yeah, it's really cool. And I think you were saying something to me earlier that it actually got edited down for like graphic violence for telly because it was even more violent originally or something like that, wasn't it?
I don't know if it was this part, but it he was supposed to possibly go a little farther because his mindset here, even Edward James, almost after he had got shot, he said on set, "Well, my mindset, I will kill her at any cost the next time if I ever see her again."
Right.
And yeah, I think they had to cut it down slightly, but I think it really did well and translated well enough. They also had to cut out the scenes where topography was for pussies. That's what Tyrrell originally said. And Adar was a prick. It was something Adama said on the flight in, and fucking they made him cut it out. And they were talking about how TV is, how sometimes they'll let you get away with things, and sometimes they'll cut out things that make you just wonder why they cut it out.
Right.
The prick part, I can understand maybe the pussies, I guess, but you know, that's neither here nor there. I don't know if it's that interesting, but thought I would bring it up.
I think it's actually what kind of part of what I love about the show. Not that obviously, if you've ever listened to me on our live streams Friday nights, I have a bit of a potty mouth at times, but I like that this was on basic cable and it still is just it's just as moving and poignant even with all that type of editing as stuff that goes on like pay cable stations that can get away with a lot more. I really like that it's still just as moving, even though there are certain words they can't say, there's certain things they can't do that you could get away with if this were on like Cinemax or HBO or Stars or whatever. They were able to get away with this on Sci-Fi Network. They were able to just push the envelope, and even when they were told they couldn't do something, they could work around that. I think it's part of what makes this such a great show. But things about other people meeting up, um, we talked a lot Friday night. Like I think one of the most touching moments so far in the show is when Starbuck and Adama just see each other, and she's like, "Oh, what the hell is he gonna do?" And he just like he touches her hair. That as a parent, that's a very that's just like such a touching moment. It was really moving to me. And then of course Apollo and Adama, that was just like pulls on the feels.
Oh yeah, and no doubt, Kara is a daughter, to Adama. It's an awesome thing, and then the reunion of father and son, uh, both of them knowing the other's okay. They both thought the other possibly dead. So um, the fact that they get to reunite is it's beautiful. It's beautiful, touching.
Yeah, and the music in me's gotta bring up Bear McCreary's musical chops. Like, he doesn't just do drums. Like the whole soundtrack to this entire series is amazing. And what's called now the Adama theme, which involves basically any emotional moment between Lee and William Adama. With the Irish flute and everything, it's just really, I mean, it's nothing like a lot of the rest of the music in the series, and it shows you just how diverse of a composer he is. Sorry, I had to go on my music rant for this.
no problem at all. No problem at all. But yeah, I'll talk a little bit about. Let's see. Oh yeah, Tyrell and Sharon. Even though that she's never actually met him, she still loves him, knows who he is. Like this is such a tough moment, right? Especially for Tyrell. He's got to be wondering, what the fuck are these emotions I'm feeling? Yeah, I'm happy to see you again, but you're not the same person that I lost. Yeah. Anything you want to touch on with that?
Oh, just I'd mentioned it Friday night. Hilo, his silent acting in this scene is just so good. He's like, okay, what's going to happen here now? Like,
Yeah.
Hilo, he doesn't say his silent acting. He doesn't say a word. You just see him. You see the way he's reacting to that.
Did you say Cylon acting? I'm joking.
And it's just honestly for me that's my acting chops moment for this entire episode. I think when he sees Tyrell and Sharon and their pseudo reunion, like he's just like, okay, how's this gonna play out? What's gonna happen here? Like,
Mhm.
Is this going to go back to the way things were? Because he always had this crush on her, but he was like, hey, you're with Tira, well, with Boomer, and then all the stuff on Caprica happened, and this is a different Sharon. Yeah, like that look right there, like that's just it's so like confused and heartbroken and resigned all at the same time. It's
Well, I mean, he got the one thing on his side is she got that baby. Uh,
this is true.
Shout out to whoever has to deliver that monstrosity, whatever it may be, or possibly the most beautiful thing we've ever seen in creation. But maybe it has an arm coming out of his forehead. We'll see what happens.
Could
Uh,
be.
will the spine glow as soon as that baby's born? Will the baby be born?
Might even be. Wait, that's for Saturdays, right?
Yeah, we won't get into all this crazy stuff. But I will say that the next episode will blow your minds, Jills. I'm gonna let's see, segue. Let me make sure I'm not getting ahead of myself. I think we've covered a lot of stuff because the Jills have been getting stuff fantastically well on Fridays. Big shout out Friday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, the Cylon, Johns, and Jills Network. I know it says Cylon Johns right now, but it is changing very soon. I have a new little thumbnail thing in the works. You'll see. Julianne89, special shout out. Mackenzie L. Burns, special shout out. Does thumbnails, artwork, all the kinds of stuff for her. And both are Cylon Jills. So, one thing that Billy says that was cut out, I think it's funny as hell, that he tells Rosalind he's an atheist in this episode. But they cut it out because they had to cut some things out, and it didn't really further the plot too much in this scene. I know you wanted to touch on a little bit of Billy becoming president.
Yeah, well, for one thing, I think it's actually. I wish that scene had not been cut out because I think it's really moving. That he straight up tells her he's like, I'm an atheist. Yet he's still following her. He's still there to support her. And I think that feeds into the whole conversation that he has with Adama earlier in the episode, in the actual episode, when, Adama's like, when Billy's like, she's not going to be happy to see me. And Adama's like, she has a lot of respect for you, kid. She thinks you're going to be president someday. Like, and, we don't know how the structure of command works, who will replace who or what, so forth. But, like they said earlier, somebody's going to run in 6 months, or I guess it's probably about 5 months now. And if it's quite apparent that Rosalind's sick, I mean, he might be that person.
It's a very good possibility. He seems a logical candidate, but we do know there's other people out there and wild cards. But hey, I'd vote for Billy.
I'd vote. Yeah, I'd vote for Billy. I'd probably go Billy Baltar myself.
Yeah.
Because you need a little pragmatism there somewhere. I mean, my ideal ticket would be like Coddle Billy, but that's probably
No
not going
doubt. Kata. What about Randy the Rando Marine right here? That's a Cylon, according to Kenzie, but he just got
Oh
killed.
no, he's Randy the Rando. He's not Marine. He's one of Zarek's crew.
Oh, Randy the Rando Rebel.
Yeah, Randy the Rando Rebel.
You want to talk a little bit about this scene? I would say that Adama puts the gun back in Boomer's face, but they cut it out because how close Adama was standing to her, that his arm was at this weird, awkward angle, and it wasn't like that John Woo shot with the straight arm. So it just didn't look right. So they didn't go with that. I thought it's pretty good. And the fact that Meyer was told by Zarek not to do it, that Zarek didn't want to go through with it, possibly because the timing wasn't right. I don't, you could read into that what you will, but I'm sure everyone wanted him to get arrested after this, but they couldn't have any idea, and I don't I'm pretty positive that Boomer didn't give them up. Did Boomer give Zarek up? I don't think she did.
No, and Zarek was never directly implicated. You know, the way it came across, and this is either Zarek actually didn't want this assassination attempt to properly go out, which kind of it's alluded earlier that he does, but either that or he's really good at keeping his hands clean. And speaking of keeping your hands clean, I am glad they cut out the gun pointing thing because you know how anal I get about gun scenes. Like, okay, if you hold a gun to somebody's face like this, like anytime I see a bad firearm holding angle in a movie, it drives me insane. And I'm glad they didn't do that because his arm would. I mean, it could have actually, like, especially we're talking about a guy recovering from heart surgery. Like, it could have caused some serious nerve damage to him.
Yeah, it's they know what they're doing.
He might get some carpal tunnel after that.
Carpal tunnel. I would say that there's a few different. There's even to them. There's a few scenes that every once in a while they don't like, but pretty much I think they're spot on. There's some things that don't translate quite as well, like the scene we're about to talk about next, which they wanted to translate a little more on the funny side. We see Kara went all the way back to Caprica to get the arrow of Apollo. We see her here just trying to figure out how to open this door, and well, all you gotta do is push it. Um, and it wasn't necessarily lost in translation, but it just didn't hit the way they wanted it to. But I still find it funny, especially when they were talking about it afterwards. Go ahead.
Well, especially she has that emotional look on her face when she's about to put the arrow up there. Like she's like, okay, I've succeeded in my quest. Like, I've gone through all this shit, and it's right before that when she's standing there with Rosalind, and then now it's this part, and she's like, "What the frack? Like, this isn't happening."
I can't
Like,
find it
she's
right
like,
now, but
the
yeah,
door's not opening.
yeah. It's just like, what the hell's going on? What'd you have me do this for?
Yeah.
And they're just simply,
I have never had that look on my face in my life. Not once, not ever.
no. Let's just give it a quick shove, everyone. That's all they have to do.
Now, you know what I do for a living. I have that look on my face at least once a day.
But but yeah, with the era of Apollo, there's supposed to be 3 jewels on it from the beginning to kind of help navigate them, but they thought it kind of redundant since they were going to find something to help them navigate anyways. And we'll kind of get into the meaning of the arrow here. They're finding the tombs. Um, these, you could say, are the 12 tribes or the lost. Something you can call maybe the lost people. I would say that my only kind of tease is the origination of all the names of the constellations came from Cobol. That's the only thing I'll tell you without spoiling anything. Would that be fair, John?
Well, that and they say this is where the 12 tribes came from. The 12 tribes came to Cobol as 12 different tribes, and there was a 13th tribe, and then they all left Cobol, and 12 of the tribes went to the planets that we know now, and the 13th tribe went off, did their own thing. They were like, screw you guys, I'm going somewhere else. And so, but this was the origination of the 12 tribes, was at Cobol. Excuse me. And then, so yeah, I mean, that's blatantly said right there.
Yeah,
it can be very figurative. We're talking about religious texts here.
yeah, I mean, it's super figurative, but then you have all the, and we know that this is not logical, that all the constellations won't be able to be seen at one time, but this is for TV, so this is fine. I don't really have that much of a problem with it. I know it's pretty funny that they said something about it, and even themselves, but they kind of had to do it. I think it's a definite beautiful scene too of what they're in, and something I think that's hilarious is they were gonna have them looking, trying to figure it out, and then have mortar shells come in from a Cylon attack in the middle of that. I just think it would have blew up the scene, literally. Uh, you know, another decision they made that was very fantastic. Even though it's fun to think about some Cylon mortars coming in there.
Well, you remember you and I were talking about some of the original conceptual ideas that they had about this scene.
Yeah. Go ahead and elaborate on that a little bit because I think it's pretty interesting.
For those of you who don't know, they had originally thought of getting at this moment in the show, or at this point, the script was kind of loose, but the revelation moment, having Dirk Benedict play God, which for anyone who's seen the original Battlestar Galactica, that would have been funny as shit. Having Starbuck meet Starbuck. Oh,
look at that. Classic drink. Speaking of Starbuck, anything you want to
sponsor us. We need money.
Speaking of Starbuck, anything you want to throw out there? And first off, real quick, shout out to the winner of the hashtag whatever. Um, and we will be giving away something very nice to you soon, Bubba Husky, and everyone on Fridays. Come join us, and maybe you'll win a giveaway or get a chance to have something sent to you with a personalized hashtag on it. And I'll leave it as vague as that. We'll pick someone maybe every 2 weeks if we have more people in the chat. Maybe every week. We'll see what's going on here. But right now we'll do it every 2 weeks, once a month. And yeah, we're just gonna have a good time and get the juices flowing in the chat, man. But go ahead and also give us a little teaser on Starbuck this week. We all want
I
it.
was just going to say first on what you were talking about. Speaking of hashtags, just so you know, your prize is going to be hashtag rando and hashtag awesome, because you're dealing with two pretty hashtag rando awesome people.
Hey, that's a good idea. Was gonna give him a choice, but screw that guy. Ha ha ha.
No, we're going to pick it, and you're just going to get it, and you're going to be happy with it. I hope so, anyway.
Hashtag Nanolons in the comments.
Hashtag Nanolons.
Yeah, go ahead and give us that. And would you like to go into a little bit of Sagittarian and the Arrow, possibly?
Yeah. What did you want me to mention about Starbuck? I'm sorry, I got kind of
Oh,
derailed.
well, is there anything you want to throw out there about Starbuck this week? Maybe a one-liner, something.
Oh,
You can think about it.
well, Starbuck has two really good one-liners. Sorry, I'm looking through my notes. Got a little derailed. Sorry. When she says, like, I thought this was a temple of Athena, and she's like, I think that was the lobby. And then there's the moment she's like, do you realize we're standing on Earth? Like and like you mentioned Friday, she's like, oh, well, why didn't they just stay there? Well, they're decent people. They've kind of got a whole fleet to save. I think it's a good thing Baltar wasn't there, or there would have been a debate about it, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess it begs to wonder what's the nature of that temple, too. That'd be something good for maybe to ask the panel to start off the episode. There's so
Certainly.
much going on, but let's ask them that.
Oh, and then the other is the quote from the scripts of Pythia that she makes, which is the gods shall lift those who lift each other.
Mm,
And
yes.
I just want to stick a pin in that. Might be very important.
Yeah.
At least it sounds like it will be.
And the era of Apollo was put in Sagittarian, right, to open the tomb of Athena, if I'm not mistaken. Uh, and is there anything you'd like to elaborate on that without, I don't know, that maybe could give hints or anything that you think's pretty cool about the era of Apollo slash Sagittarian?
Well, yeah. Well, Sagittarius was in the zodiac is the Archer. I can't remember, and I have all these freaking books about it. Can't remember the exact story about it, but it was very important that he was an archer. I forget who or what he shot, but I do remember distinctly the era of Apollo. That comes from the Iliad by Homer. The arrow of Apollo was what was put in Achilles' heel to defeat him after the acts that he committed, mostly involving hubris and um, blasphemy. And
Ooh,
Apollo stood on his own temple and shot him with his arrow. Also,
is
Apollo had 7 arrows that he killed 7 kids with because mom said they were prettier and better than. But that you can cast it in either light, you know.
so who in the comments leave which characters you think fit that may be the shooter of the arrow of Apollo and bring down either 7 siblings or an Achilles type figure. Hmm. Interesting food for thought. Let's go right into the slow clap ending, which is your favorite scene ever. No, this really harkens back to the miniseries, to this tradition, this sense of having, what would you call it, ceremonies, these events, these things they do to make them feel like they're in an everyday routine. And if you want to elaborate on it a little bit, and we know, straight out of Brubaker, they even said they copied it straight from Brubaker.
Yeah, I'll let you elaborate on that. But my one note would be not just an everyday routine, but also to let these people feel like, hey, what you're doing is special. What you're doing is important. More than anything for Laura Roslin. But for everybody, like what you're doing is important because you got to think about it when you're living this survival lifestyle. You've got to hit a point of burnout. In fact, I think we might see that in the next few episodes where people are just so burnt out on having to deal with this every day, all the time, day in, day out, and they're just getting burnt out. And you need things like this to make people feel special and important. And more than anything, I think by bringing everybody back together, Adama wanted to specifically make it was like that. I think it was in water with the bringing the president there, and she totally misinterprets it. And she's like, "Oh, talking to Lee, and she's like, "Oh, yeah, he's got to have all this pomp and circumstance." And Lee's like, "No, he hates that shit. He's doing this for you, to make you feel special." And I think this was the same type of thing, and I think that's very important. Um,
Yeah, it's I'm trying to remember exactly what they pulled it from. I know it's a can't remember, but just look it up. It's a film, I believe, that pretty much the whole scene's almost exactly identical to this. and it's a really good scene. You can kind of see what they hearken to and what they pull from sometimes, and what they like as their own things to watch. I really enjoyed the scene because the power of Rosalind and Adama coming together. Hashtag Radama. Um, hashtag Adoslin. Whatever you want to call the new couple we have here, right?
Yeah, I don't know. You're watching this and you're kind of starting to ship them. You know,
Yeah.
you're kind of like, hey, you know, they're making friends pretty quickly and well. They're about the same age, you know, and they're both like lonely and single and idealistic in their own ways and good people, and just like there's a little bit of shipping going on here. At least there was for me when I was watching it. The one thing I do have to say, what you're talking about redoing a scene like almost to the T, there are some good moments of that. I don't know if you ever saw the remake they did of the Wolfman. I guess it was about 10 years ago. Um, but I remember I went with my son, and I distinctly remember there were some scenes that were shot exactly, except in color, like they were in the original Lon Chaney film. Like the same angles, the same everything. Like not the entire film, but just certain scenes. And it's, yeah, if you have those moments that are just boom, why mess with it? If you're gonna redo something, redo it exactly.
Yeah, or at least close enough where it pays a good homage to it. You can kind of make it your own, I would say, but some of the shots are just so good you can't make them better. You can't make the scene better. Um, yeah, with that, I think this is a good damn episode. It's full of things. We have ranted about this for a good amount of time, I think. Fair,
I'm
fair.
pretty sure this was my first 10. Now Mackenzie said she thinks I gave another episode a 10, but I'm pretty sure this was my first 10.
I think you might have gave another episode of 10, but it
I
sounds
did.
familiar, but
I did. It was Flesh and Bone.
oh yeah, that's it. That's
It was
it.
Flesh and Bone.
Yeah,
Just
I
because
think
of my inner Ramsey Bolton.
did I give this I think I gave it a 9.5.
Um,
If I'm not mistaken.
you gave it a straight 9.
Oh, straight 9. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
I like the next episode for me is possibly a 10. Um I'll get into that next episode. With that, give me them two awesome fracking teasers, man.
Okay, so my two teasers this week. If you watch this, you know I always try and go with song lyrics. So my two teasers for this week are: I read the news today. Oh boy. And there were lines on the mirror. There were lines on her face.
Mm. Yeah, so my teaser for episode 8 final cut would have to be extra, extra, watch all about it. Have your popcorn ready. And also, roll that beautiful bean footage. And we will see a bean in the next episode. Ha! Ooh, that's a good one. Uh, John, would you like to shout out, throw some plugs out there, my friend? What have you got going on your channel? And also, don't forget to check out Johnny Be Crazy, which is my channel. Also, be linked below. New series, Quickie of Ice and Fire. Be sure to check that out. Already 3 videos in the series, and will be 100 of them probably. Go ahead, John.
Well, if you're going to go with George R. R. Martin, there will be 100 if you're going character by character because he writes a lot of them. Some might be longer than others, but there will be lots of quickies. You know, just like a good quickie. Sometimes it's just a minute or two. Sometimes it lasts about 5. As long as you get the job done, that's what's important. No, check out Johnny B. Crazy's channel. And you asked if I have any shout outs. Before I talk about myself, I have to do those. Thank you to our amazing panel: Amy True, Clarissa Thompson, Bobby Catalano. Please buy Bobby's stuff. Go to her page, which will be linked right there. You can see Johnny's Maester's kit right behind him. Good Shit Yo, which is my ultimate ranking of anything. That's like a 10.5 is if it's good shit, yo. And also Mackenzie L. Burns, who does Episode Club every Wednesday and currently like every other day. So please check them out. Things on my channel, actually today, probably before this drops, today, season 3 playlist and video for Game of Thrones is going to drop. It's an episode by episode, track by track interpretation of Game of Thrones. I'm doing season 3 right now, and we have 4 more after that. Seasons 1 and 2 are already available, and you can find those on my page at John St. Baptiste. Also,
I will link those in the comments below.
Oh, awesome. Thank you. You'll see me every Friday with this beautiful, lovely man who has a much more endearing accent than I do on the Cylon Johns, and we look forward to seeing you soon.
And so say we all, my friends.
So say we all.